This community of care is created through our work and our time together, our commitment to one another. This is our covenant, to walk together in loving fellowship, to share our hopes and values. As we pass these baskets, we thank you for your generous gifts, which support the work of this religious community and Unitarian Universalism in the world at large. As a reflection of our values, we are pleased to participate in the Change for Change program. The coins you place in the basket today will support the work of nonprofits in and around the Grand Valley. With gratitude, we will now receive today's offering. This congregation is a community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to its life, we affirm our lives within it. So please stand in spirit or body and sing hymn number 354, We Laugh, We Cry.
We need to feel there's something here to That's one of my favorite songs. It kind of incorporates everything. So our theme for this month of May is pluralism. And the title that I came up with when I was thinking about pluralism, because in all honesty, just the word pluralism kind of sounds boring until you explain it a little bit. And so when I was thinking about how do I explain pluralism, I was thinking about, well, really it is finding the the truth of the ultimate reality through multiple perspectives. And this concept is really not that it's kind of the error that Unitarian Universalists believe. When we have somebody that comes into this building for the first time and they haven't really heard of Unitarian Universalism, and they're kind of like, well, I saw you guys, and I like your rainbow flag, and I like that there's Black Lives Matter banner, and who are you and what do you believe? And a lot of times what I'll say is, we are a faith that is very comfortable in the mystery. We are okay not having the answer to everything. And so I usually say, so if you come on a Sunday and you hear me speak, you may hear me throw out a lot of questions, but you're rarely going to hear me offer an answer. And to me, that, I guess, sort of encompasses what pluralism is. It's the idea that people of different backgrounds, of different faiths, of different life experience, we can come together to be authentic, loving human beings. And so what I usually say is, if you come to a UU church on any given Sunday, actually not everybody even calls it church, a service, you may be sitting next to a Buddhist, you may be sitting next to an agnostic, you may be sitting next to an atheist, we may have a Hindu or two, and we have a few Christians. And we all come together on Sunday mornings to make meaning. To me, that's a beautiful understanding of pluralism. Because what we are as Unitarian Universalists, we are not a creedal faith. And what that means is, for those of you who were maybe raised in a more traditional Christian world, I was raised Methodist, and every church service there was the Nicene Creed that we would say, we believe in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And I don't have it totally memorized anymore, but it was a set of beliefs that defined who you were within this faith tradition. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that is what is called a creedal faith. It means that to be part of this faith community, you believe A, B, and C. And then your minister or your priest, if you're having problems in your life or you need wisdom or guidance, you go and you speak to them, and they will offer you that wisdom or insight from that particular faith system, from that particular set of beliefs. What we are here as Unitarian Universalists is we are what is called a covenantal faith system, in that it is not about what we believe. So just looking around this room, if I asked any one of you, what do you think ultimate reality is, there is probably going to be as much diversity amongst all of us as there were with the kids and their different animals. Because every single one of us has had a different life journey. We were born in different decades. We were born in different parts of the country. Some of us were probably born in different parts of the world. And so how can we possibly say that one experience is going to be able to encompass all of ultimate reality for any one of us? And so what a covenantal faith system is it's not, we are brought together not so much based on what we believe, but on how we choose to interact and be with one another. How are we going to covenant to be in relationship and care for each other? That is kind of the difference between a creedal faith system and a covenantal faith system. And so within that understanding that what's more important is the relationship and how we treat each other, that becomes very fertile ground for something called pluralism. And pluralism is the idea that we are strengthened by our diversity, that the whole is stronger when you have different parts coming together. And it may seem, for those of us in this room, who, especially those of us that have been raised as Unitarian Universalists with these 7 principles, this pluralism is just sort of the, if we were fish, it would just be the water that we swim in. It's just how we understand reality. It just makes sense that we understand. A few of the, traditional analogies for how to explain pluralism is, for example, and this is also called in Christian theology, it's called perennialism. But the idea is that perhaps there's one mountain, but there are many paths up that mountain. And no one path is the perfect path. Some people like to go around and take their time and go around the mountain in circles and take their time to get to the top. Others want a straight path. Other people may just want a helicopter to the top and then rappel down. That happens too, but the idea is it's all the same mountain, but many paths. Another analogy might be a beautiful cathedral that has beautiful stained glass window. It's the one sun, the light comes from the same source, but as it hits each one of those windows and the light is refracted, it comes out in beautiful versions of different colors of light. So those are kind of the analogies that people use a lot when we talk about what does it mean, what is perennialism. And part of, I wouldn't really say a problem, so that is, if we're looking at kind of the history of Christian theological thought, the perennialists were the kind of the liberal heretics, so to speak, that for some people, even that concept of one mountain, many paths was challenging to some of the faith traditions that are more creedal, that have, there is one way and it is this way and this is how we do it. So the perennialists were kind of pushing the edge, but in like the 1800s. But as we get farther away from that, with that even larger perspective that we get through science and through cosmology and all of that, one of the criticisms of the perennialists was they mostly, it was a Christian paradigm, and so they were willing to allow for the one mountain, many paths, but then their paradigm was that Christianity was the mountain, and different faith traditions were on that path, but they just didn't realize that it was all Christianity. So there was a little bit of arrogance even in that perspective, that it was an openness to the many paths with kind of, but we're the mountain. or, or Jesus is the sun. So that analogy, I guess I would say spiritual maturity throughout history, and I'm not saying just on one individual person's level, but spiritual maturity with humanity as a whole may be that we kind of start with this is the way and this is the only way, and then we broaden our perspective, and pluralism, perennialism was part of that. That was part of spiritual growth, in my opinion. Not everybody would necessarily agree that open-mindedness is more evolved. People could probably argue that with me, but that's where I come from as a UU. But where I think we are now is that we're coming to understand that perhaps that is not the whole picture. As I've been talking about, throughout the years, that as science and spirituality begin to not contradict each other anymore, but complement each other, and as we have these new amazing telescopes that are going out into space and bringing back these amazing photographs of the galaxies and the universe, it just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And so the idea of one mountain, many paths, it works, and there are many mountains. And then within those many mountains, there's planet Earth. And so then we can start to look at the perspective of, okay, we think we understand everything from the perspective of planet Earth, but when you look at those little telescopes, planet Earth is one little speck in a universe or a galaxy of little specks. And so to me, that's not scary, it's not depressing, it doesn't diminish who we are, but it helps to put perspective that no one person can have ultimate truth, because I don't think ultimate truth is even able to be comprehended. And so we live our life based on the truth that we can comprehend, which can be magnificent and beautiful, and it helps to really understand that maybe we don't have that whole perspective ever. And so that's what I was talking about with the kids. I like to walk in Matchett Park, and a few years ago I was watching, and I looked down, and there was just this little ant, and it had so much purpose. Like, it had a mission. Like, I could tell where it was going. I couldn't tell where it knew where it was going. But this little ant is so tiny, and it was moving quickly on this big mound. And for this little ant, that mound was really, really large. And that was that ant's ultimate reality. And I was thinking about, okay, if I was an ant, would I even understand that Matchett Park, could I even, as an ant, comprehend Matchett Park? Probably not, right? And Matchett Park is just one little park on between two streets in Grand Junction. And so then, we look at the birds, or these other animals like we talked about with the kids, and we can get a larger perspective over time as our consciousness expands. But I wonder sometimes if our human perspective here on Earth might be as teeny tiny as that perspective of that little ant. And yet, is there anything wrong with that? I don't think there is. And what it means to me is if we believe that consciousness can continue to expand, we can continue to be part of that expansion. And so when we start to think about the different world religions and the different theologies and how we might come together as a humanity, and what is pluralism in this world, on this earth, is it possible that we are all experiencing ultimate reality? And so what we talk about here in this Unitarian church on Sunday mornings is real and it is true. And what they are talking about in the ashrams in India does not necessarily, it might not be the same thing, but perhaps it is as true. And what they understood, the teachings from Muhammad over with Islam, ultimate reality can very well be true, and yet it can also appear contradictory. Because when you have such a vast understanding of consciousness, we can't all comprehend it all. And one of my favorite little stories that I was going to do with the children today, and then I changed it up at the last minute, but one of my favorite little parables that many of you have probably heard before is the story of the 3 blind men and the elephant. And there were 3 wise men who were blind, and they came across an elephant. And they were asked to describe what this elephant is. And the first man, who had bumped into the elephant's leg, said, "Oh, an elephant is just this big, sturdy, strong pillar. It's like strong, it's like a tree trunk. It's immovable. It is steady and huge, and I can barely get my arms around it." And another one of the blind men came across the elephant's ear and said, "I don't even know what you're talking about, because it's not strong and steady. It's like flat. It's like a pancake, and it moves back and forth, and it flops, and it's like flat. And what are you talking about?" And then the third blind man, was feeling the elephant's trunk and was like, both of you are wrong. An elephant is like a hose, and it's kind of weird, and it almost is like a snake type thing, and be careful because it just spouted water at me. And these 3 blind men ended up getting into a fight with each other about what an elephant is. And all of them were absolutely correct, and none of them was totally right, because not one of them had the whole perspective. And we can apply that over and over again. We can even take that analogy a little bit further. Then we can look at one elephant and say, okay, now we know what an elephant is. An elephant, whatever one of the kids was just holding up, this is what an elephant is. Well, yeah, but do we understand how intelligent elephants are? Do we understand that they traverse the earth on these grid lines? And do we even understand what these herds of elephants do in relation to planet Earth? So even when we can say, oh, we know what an elephant is, we don't really know what an elephant is, because there's always more to it. And so when we talk about pluralism, when we talk about the ultimate truth of multiple perspectives, it's just a reminder that we have a role in being and understanding the world and the universe to our own capacity. But then we're so much stronger when we invite other people in and say, okay, this is the perspective that I understand the world from. What is the perspective that you're coming from? And what is the perspective that you're coming from? And how do we then bring it together for a beautiful whole? And a simple example of that, I think, happens a lot on Sunday mornings, that I will be like kind of out there and I'm like, I'm going to be talking about elephants and blind men and blah, 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 right? And Maya and Joanna a lot of times will just kind of like look at me and then Maya's like, okay, well, maybe I could talk to the kids about this. And she comes up with something I hadn't even thought about. And then Joanna's kind of looking at both of us, kind of sometimes with a oh no perspective. But then she comes up with this beautiful, amazing music, and it all somehow seems to always come together. And that, I think, is the strength of what it means when you have Joanna living into her highest, most beautiful potential, and Maya living into her beautiful potential, and me coming from my perspective, and we're not the same at all. And yet, on a given Sunday, hopefully something really beautiful and transformative can happen and take place. To me, that's pluralism. And so if we can do that in this little congregation, how do we take that out into the world? And we do that. There's the Grand Valley Interfaith Network, which is here in the Grand Valley, and we meet once a month, and we've done a lot of really beautiful ecumenical things in this valley. And it's just a reminder that we can continue to do that. So consciousness is ever expanding. We are conscious beings, which means that we are ever expanding. And so the beauty of these principles is that we as individuals can continue to learn and grow and change and question and be in the mystery. And what might have been mysterious to us 20 years ago in our spiritual journey, there's a little bit of clarity. And then we end up with more mystery over here. And if everybody is doing that and allowing their loved ones and their friends and their neighbors to do that, then I think we end up with a really beautiful, comprehensive whole. This comes natural to those of us in this room. It does not necessarily come natural to some of the faith communities that are having sermons right now. And so my invitation for us is to think about individually and collectively, how do we get to be those pillars of light in this valley to help just in a beautiful, loving way model pluralism by inviting the questions, exploring the answers, sitting in the mystery, and then modeling that that's really okay to not know it all, or to be in total control, or to have all the answers. We do that, I think we're going to be okay. So let us sing together now. Number 1074, Turn the World Around. And like I just said, this is not a song I know, but this time it was chosen by somebody that does know music, so I think we're going to be okay.
Everyone, for this one, this is the sheet that I've handed out. You're welcome to try and follow along with the music. However, it is one of the trickiest to follow along with, hence the creation of the lyric sheet. It is one that we just want to enjoy having fun with. Please let yourself move, rock, dance, etc. And if you are dying to make some percussion, we've got a couple. Do we have any extras for any? I know. Well, the choir's going to be rocking out. Let's have some fun. This is, we will also get to sing it again on Music Sunday. And so it's one that we started with Harry Belafonte and the Muppets. Now let's see if we can evolve to getting to enjoy together. Please rise in body or spirit.
Happy after that. Oh, thank you for that beautiful music. That was good. That was good for my soul. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go now in peace. Amen.